The late afternoon sun dappled the garden in golden patches, and the air was thick with the hum of summer. Nia swayed gently in a woven hammock strung between two old sycamore trees. The scent of jasmine floated on the breeze, mingling with the earthy sweetness of warm grass. Cradled in her lap was a weathered leather journal. The edges were soft and worn, and the pages inside were filled with her grandmother's delicate handwriting, loops and curls that looked like they had grown straight from the earth. The cover bore no title, only a small embossed symbol, an open eye with a single star at its center. Nia traced it with her finger. Grandma always said this was the book that found her, not the other way around, she whispered to herself. She turned a page. Imagination is the first language of the heart, it read. The wise cat knows the way, but only those who listen with kindness will understand her. A soft breeze swept over Nia's face. Her eyes fluttered, the words on the page beginning to blur. The hammock rocked her deeper into stillness. The world began to shift. In the space between waking and sleep, she heard it, faint and distant. Meow. Nia blinked. She sat up suddenly, the journal still clutched in her hands. Everything looked the same, almost. The garden glowed brighter than before, the colors deeper, the shadows longer. The air was quiet, too quiet. No cicadas, no bird song. Only the sound of a soft purring, somewhere just beyond the edge of the trees. Hello? Nia called gently. No answer, only the swish of a tail slipping into the tall grass. She rose, leaving the hammock behind, barefoot on the soft earth. The journal pulsed faintly in her hands, as if it were aware. As she walked, the pages fluttered open on their own, stopping at a sketch of a cat, sleek and solid white, with eyes like twin moons. Beneath it were the words, "When the cat of quiet light appears, follow. She only walks the paths meant for you." Nia's heart beat faster, not with fear, but with something else. Recognition. She remembered now stories her grandmother used to tell her when she was very small, curled beside her on the porch swing at twilight. Tales of a luminous white cat named Vena who could guide dreamers through the forest of possible futures. "She only shows up when your heart is open," Grandma would say, tapping her gently on the chest. "And she doesn't waste time. You better be ready to listen." Nia stepped into the trees. The sky shifted, turning silver blue. Light shimmered in the leaves like stars caught in branches, and up ahead, just past the bend of a mossy trail, sat the cat. Pure white, tail curled like a question mark, eyes glowing with ancient knowing. She meowed once, softly, then turned and began to walk. Nia followed. The white cat moved like a whisper through the forest, each step lighting a faint shimmer in the moss beneath her paws. Nia followed, the journal still clutched in one hand, her bare feet brushing over velvet-soft earth that felt impossibly warm, as if the path itself had been waiting for her. She didn't ask where they were going. She didn't need to. The trees leaned in like old friends, their trunks etched with spirals and symbols she didn't recognize, but somehow felt familiar. It was as if the forest knew her name. The further they went, the more the world softened. The sky above was no longer the blue of day or the indigo of night, but a soft silver hue that glowed with a light that seemed to come from within. It wasn't like walking into a dream. It was like walking into a memory she hadn't lived yet. Vena, the cat, paused at a small clearing where the trees parted in a perfect circle. In the center stood a smooth stone pedestal, no taller than Nia's waist. Resting atop it was something wrapped in violet cloth. Vena hopped lightly onto the pedestal and sat beside it, tail flicking. Her eyes locked with Nia's, and for a moment it felt as if she could hear words, not spoken aloud, but offered in the quiet between thoughts. "Unwrap it." Nia stepped forward and lifted the cloth. Beneath it was a small crystal sphere, cool to the touch, pulsing with faint light. As she held it, the journal in her hand fluttered open again, turning to a page she hadn't yet seen. The path is not about what you deserve. It's about what you dare to believe. Hold the vision with love. Imagine not only for yourself, but for all. The bridge will follow. The sphere shimmered, and then suddenly, it wasn't a sphere at all. Inside, she saw a vision. Faint at first, like mist swirling in moonlight. She saw herself, laughing with friends she hadn't met yet. Painting on a great canvas, sitting by a fire, telling stories that made others' eyes light up. She saw a world filled with color and kindness, gardens blooming in places that once held only shadows. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Is this real?" she whispered. Vena purred louder, then stepped down from the pedestal and began walking again. Nia followed. Around the next bend, the trees gave way to a wide ravine, veiled in mist. The air was still, expectant. And there, arched across the vast space, was a bridge made of light. It shimmered like moonlit water, semi-formed. The first few steps looked solid, but the rest? They seemed to flicker in and out, waiting for something. Vena sat at the edge of it, watching. Nia stepped forward, heart pounding. She remembered the journal's words again. The bridge will follow. She glanced at the cat. "I don't know if I'm ready," she said softly. Vena blinked, slowly. The kind of blink that said, "You are," even if you don't believe it yet. And then Nia heard it, like a melody on the wind, her grandmother's voice. "When you imagine with love, you walk the path before it's ever built. Faith is not knowing. It's choosing. You've always known how to choose." Nia closed her eyes. She pictured the life she saw in the sphere, the laughter, the light, the goodness not only for herself, but for everyone she might meet. And when she opened her eyes again, the bridge had extended one more step. She placed her foot on it. It held. Step by step, the bridge formed beneath Nia's feet, each one glowing to life only as she imagined the next. She didn't look down. She didn't need to. The misty ravine stretched wide beneath her, but she trusted the shimmer and the rhythm of her breath. Vena padded silently alongside, her paws making no sound on the glowing arc. Halfway across, Nia felt something shift. The air grew cooler. The mist curled differently, tighter, heavier. The bridge stopped forming. Ahead of her was nothing but fog. She hesitated. Why won't it go any further? The journal in her hand suddenly tugged with a breeze. Its pages flapped open on their own, landing on a faded parchment page that seemed older than the rest. The ink was darker, the letters bolder. "Imagination is power," it read, "but power without kindness is destruction in disguise." Beneath that, in her grandmother's unmistakable script, intent is the seed. If your dreams grow from fear, control, or vanity, they will bloom with thorns. But when rooted in love and trust, the forest answers with gifts beyond measure. Nia swallowed. A memory surfaced, small but sharp. Last week, in a moment of jealousy, she'd imagined her best friend forgetting her success at the school art contest. It had been a quick, bitter thought, one she'd brushed away, ashamed. But now, here, it returned like a shadow, tugging at her sleeve. The mist ahead grew darker, thicker. The bridge refused to build. Vena meowed, sharp this time, then turned her eyes toward the fog. Nia followed her gaze and saw herself, a distorted reflection standing in the mist, eyes hard, lips pursed, holding the same journal in her hand, but twisted somehow. Her hair blew in a wind Nia couldn't feel, and behind her, the bridge crumbled. The shadow Nia spoke, but no sound came. Still, Nia understood. Imagination without love creates fear. Fear creates doubt. Doubt unravels the path. Her heart ached. She closed her eyes, pressing the journal to her chest. "I didn't mean it," she whispered. "I was afraid of being forgotten, but I don't want to imagine harm, even by accident." She took a breath and imagined again, not for herself, but for her friend. She saw her smiling, winning her own contest, painting freely, being seen and celebrated. She meant it. The journal glowed, the mist lightened, and, with a soft hum, the bridge formed the next step. Vena meowed gently and rubbed against Nia's leg before moving forward again. Nia followed, this time with more awareness. She knew now the path wasn't just built by dreams, but by the kindness inside them. The bridge gently sloped downward until it met solid ground again, soft moss beneath Nia's feet, rich with the scent of rain and wildflowers. A path of pale stones led her between tall hedges, and at the end of the path, an arched wooden gate stood slightly open. Vena slipped through first, her tail flicking like a paintbrush in motion. Nia stepped into a garden unlike anything she had ever seen. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors, silvery blues that shimmered like moonlight, petals that changed with the breeze. Trees held lanterns that glowed without fire, swaying softly to a rhythm only the garden seemed to know. Gentle streams crisscrossed the space, and each one whispered in a different language of laughter, hope, or memory. But it was the center of the garden that stole Nia's breath. There stood a circle of crystal mirrors, each one facing inward. They were shaped like tall doors, glowing faintly around the edges. The journal pulsed in her hand. She opened it without hesitation. The garden shows not what will be, but what could be. Each mirror holds a future shaped by your choices. What you water will grow. Choose with love. Nia stepped closer to the nearest mirror. It shimmered to life. Inside, she saw herself older, confident, joyful, leading art workshops for children in a bright sunlit studio. Laughter echoed, and murals of dreams covered the walls. Her heart warmed. She turned to the next mirror. This one showed a version of herself who had followed a path of constant comparison, always trying to be better than others, afraid to share. She had success, but her eyes were tired, alone. Nia stepped back. The next mirror showed a future where she helped others imagine again, teaching the things in her grandmother's journal, sharing the story, helping lost souls find their own bridges. And another showed her staying afraid to try, afraid to speak up, afraid to love out loud. Vena walked between the mirrors, then sat by a small tree just outside the circle. The tree had no leaves, no fruit, just a tag tied to a branch with soft golden thread. It read, "Your garden grows with every thought, every word, every step. You choose the seeds." Nia looked around slowly, her heart full. She didn't have to be perfect. She just had to be present, intentional, loving, even when it was hard. "I know which seeds I want to plant," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone. Vena meowed gently, and the bare tree trembled, its first blossom blooming in soft pink light. Nia sat beneath it and opened her journal. This time, she began to write, not from memory, but from her vision. The blossom tree still glowed faintly as Nia stood. Her journal closed itself gently in her hands, as if sensing the shift within her. Vena stood too, ears perked, tail still. The circle of crystal mirrors called to her. Nia stepped toward the one that had shown her the art studio. She reached out, not out of curiosity this time, but from a sense of quiet knowing. Her fingers met the surface. It rippled like water. Then she stepped through. The light wrapped around her like a soft wind, and when it cleared, she was standing in that very studio. The walls were filled with dream-painted murals. Children's laughter echoed down the hall. Her older self smiled from across the room, gently guiding a small child's hand with a brush. Nia's heart swelled. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She was here to feel, to understand. But then something shifted. A chime sounded, distant and strange. The light around her shimmered, flickered. Before she could react, she was pulled backward, into the mirror again. This time, she landed in a version of the garden where the sky was overcast. The flowers were still there, but dimmer. She stood before another mirror, the one she hadn't wanted to look into for long, the one where she had chosen fear. Again she passed through. This version of her lived quietly, hiding her gifts, afraid to fail. Her art was locked away in drawers. She avoided people. Her eyes held dreams she never dared to chase. Nia watched for only a moment before the garden shimmered again. She passed through another mirror, then another, and another, each one a life, a possibility, some joyful, some painful, some nearly perfect, but each one shaped by a choice, a belief, a feeling that had taken root. When she returned to the center of the circle, she fell to her knees. The mirrors were glowing now, humming like tuning forks. "I don't know which one is real," she whispered, trembling. Vena padded forward. Her purring broke the silence, low and steady like a heartbeat. She brushed against Nia's side, grounding her. Then the journal opened on its own. A page near the back, one Nia hadn't seen before. It read, "The truth is not in the mirror. It's in the heart that walks between them. You are the seed, the soil, and the song. Choose again, as many times as you need." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but they were not of sadness. They were of knowing. She stood, breathing deeply. Her choice would not be perfect. Her path might not be easy, but it would be hers, crafted from love, intention, and the courage to keep imagining. She walked toward the blossom tree. One more flower had bloomed. This time, it glowed golden. The soft rustling of leaves above Nia's head stirred the garden air. Though everything shimmered with the same golden light, something had changed. It felt like a farewell, gentle, not sad, a transition. Vena meowed once, then turned toward a narrow path hidden behind the blossom tree. Nia followed, without question. The path was quiet, lined with low stone walls tangled in ivy. At its end, a single bench waited beneath an ancient willow. Vena leapt onto it, then pawed gently at the moss-covered base. Something gleamed there. Nia knelt, brushing the moss aside. Beneath it was a small wooden box, weathered by time, but still intact. Carved into the lid were tiny stars, and at the center, a symbol she recognized from her grandmother's journal, a heart within a spiral. She opened it slowly. Inside lay a delicate pendant on a silver chain. It held a teardrop-shaped stone that shimmered like the bridge she had crossed, glowing softly with pearly light. Beneath it, folded carefully, was a small piece of paper. In her grandmother's handwriting, "For the day you learn to walk between the worlds. May you always remember who you are and who you're becoming. Love is the bridge." Nia pressed the note to her heart. The pendant warmed in her hand. The garden began to glow brighter and brighter, then turned to mist. She blinked. Wind brushed her cheek. The sound of birds, leaves rustling above. She was in the hammock. The journal rested open on her chest. Her fingers curled around something cool. She looked down. The pendant. It was real, and it was hers. Vena was nowhere to be seen, but the faintest echo of a purr drifted on the breeze. Nia smiled, her eyes misty. She didn't need all the answers. She had a beginning, and the path of possibility was wide open. Sunlight filtered through the leaves above Nia as she sat up in the hammock. The silver pendant still glowed faintly, pulsing in her hand like a heartbeat. She pressed it gently to her chest. The journal beside her rustled as if stirred by the breeze, or something more. It flipped on its own, pages fluttering until they settled on one at the very end, a page she had never seen before. In her grandmother's flowing script, the ink shimmered like moonlight. "My dearest Nia, if you found this page, then you have walked the path. You've seen what can be seen only by those brave enough to believe. The bridge, the mirrors, the garden, all of it is real because you are real. Your dreams matter. Your kindness shapes the world, and your imagination is a holy compass. Point it toward love. There will be times when the way feels uncertain, when fear whispers louder than hope. When that happens, hold this truth close. You are never walking alone. Love will always find you, in soft paw prints, in blossoming trees, in quiet dreams that shimmer. Remember to imagine for others with the same tenderness you wish for yourself. And when the world seems heavy, look to the path of possibility. It begins where your heart does. With all my love, Grandma. Nia closed the journal slowly, holding it to her chest. A single tear traced her cheek, but she was smiling. Not because the journey was over, but because it had just begun. She looked up at the sky, a soft breeze rustling her hair, and whispered, "Thank you." Somewhere far off, a cat purred.
Reading in the sunlight, just a whisper, just a breeze. Now I'm standing in a story that was waiting just for me. There's a shimmer in the branches, there's a song inside the stream, and every step I take is dancing with the edges of a dream. What if all the what ifs aren't as far as they seem? What if wishing is a doorway to a world I've only dreamed? And this is the garden of possibility, where the flowers bloom from hope and mystery. All it takes to believe, and the path begins to weave through the magic in my heart and memory. In the garden of possibility.
I see mirrors made of starlight, showing futures I could hold. One with courage, one with kindness, one where stories all unfold. There's a cat who's softly purring, and a glow beneath the trees. She says love is what you're learning, give it wings and you'll be free.
Every choice is like a petal, every dream begins in me. And the more I give with wonder, the more the world believes. This is the garden of possibility, where the sky is full of who I'm meant to be. If I feel it, it is near. If I trust, the way is clear. Let the light inside imagine endlessly. In the garden of possibility. Even when I wake, I'll remember this place, where love was the map and faith was the pace. The story's not over, it's just found its start in the beat of my heart. This is the garden of possibility, and it lives in every breath inside of me. I can dream it, I can grow, I can shine, and I can know that the life I want begins with me. In the garden, the beautiful garden of possibility. In a quiet between the trees, where the wind speaks soft and silverly, There's a path